After my senior year in high school, I needed a summer job to make some money before I went to college, and a friend of mine said that he had been hired to build a seawall, or in this case, a lake wall. And he suggested I go and put in my application. Well, guess what? I got hired, and I want to talk to you about it in your morning cup of inspiration. A wealthy family in the area that lived on Lake Michigan was noticing that year after year they were losing more of their land because the winds and the rains and the waves would beat upon that coastline, and they were losing their backyard very quickly. So they hired a few high school guys to work with some carpenters who knew what they were doing, and we built a wall that was 7 feet tall, but that was built out of 14-foot long railroad ties, and we would have to carry those ties and shoot them down a chute, and then they'd go out in the lake, and then we would gather them and we would sink them with the pump that blew out all of the sand, and we would sink them down 7 feet. So 7 feet were underneath the sand and 7 feet were above it. That wall needed to be strong, and the key was the part below the sand where they had the strength to withstand all of those waves that came in. And it reminds me of a couple of verses that talk about the waves of life. And first of all, in Proverbs chapter 10, verse 25, we read, "When the storm has swept by, the wicked are gone, but the righteous stand firm forever." Like that wall made out of railroad ties, and then we put sheet steel on the front. Those waves could beat against that thing and it wasn't going anywhere. And it would stop the waves from coming up and eroding that land. It's like that in our lives. If we don't have a strong root system that goes down below the ground, below what people see on our surface, if we don't have on the surface, if they don't see that we have a strong faith, and that we are rooted in God and rooted in His Word, then we're not going to withstand those storms. In Matthew 7:24 and 25, Jesus told a parable to His disciples, and He said, "Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, yet it did not fall, because it had its foundation on the rock." And the rock he was talking about was himself, Jesus. He is our firm foundation. We need to be rooted in His Word and know His laws and His ways. And when we live righteously, we can have those deep roots that will help us to withstand all of the storms in life. So I hope that inspires you today, and I'll talk to you soon for another morning cup of inspiration.